The wind cried outside the cabin. The roof groaned like it might fall. I pulled the thin blanket over my little girl, Amelia. Her stomach made that small, hurting sound again. It was the 5th day since we had a real meal. I tried not to count days anymore. Counting made hunger louder. "Mommy," she whispered, "my tummy hurts." "I know, baby," I said softly. "I know." Her lips were pale and her eyes looked bigger than before. I touched her forehead. "No fever, just hunger." My own stomach growled back at hers like some cruel joke. I forced a smile I didn't feel. "Sleep a little," I said. "Maybe you'll dream of pancakes. Can I dream of Daddy too?" she asked. The word stabbed me. I turned my face to the wall so she wouldn't see my eyes fill. "Sure, honey," I said. "Dream of Daddy." But I didn't tell her the truth. Life wasn't coming back. The cabin was cold, and the wind pressed through every crack. I tried to start a fire, but there wasn't much wood left, only a few pieces and some dry straw. I used it anyway. The small flame came alive, weak and shaking. Its light touched the empty plate on the table. One piece of hard bread sat there, rough as stone. I picked it up and broke it in half. The sound felt too loud in that quiet room. "You eat, Mommy," Amelia said. "I'm not hungry." "You liar," I said, smiling a little. She smiled back, her small teeth showing. Then she giggled. That giggle saved me for 1 second. I gave her my half and ate the smaller one. The bread, but it was something. After that, we just sat near the fire. The shadows danced on the wall. "Tell me a story," she said. I brushed her hair. "What kind of story?" "One with a happy ending," she said. I sighed. "Those are hard to find these days. But you make good stories, Mommy." I looked at her face, hope still there, even when food wasn't. "All right," I said. "Once there was a brave girl. She lived in a big world that didn't care about her. Courage. Like me?" "Yes, like you," I said. She smiled again. "Did she find a home?" I swallowed hard. Yes, she did. One day she did. Amelia yawned and leaned on my arm. Within minutes, she slept. I sat there watching the fire die smaller and smaller. The silence after her breathing filled the room felt heavy, almost alive. Outside, coyotes cried. The sound used to scare me, but now it was part of our nights. I stared at that empty plate again. It was once full of warm soup, fresh bread, and laughter. That was before Luke left, before he took the money and vanished with my friend Clara. The memory burned hotter than the fire. "Why?" I whispered into the dark. "Why did you do it, Luke?" No answer came, only the wind. I remembered the day he left. He said he needed to travel for work. I trusted him. Fool. He didn't even take his Bible, just money and lies. People in town whispered, but nobody helped me. They looked at me like I deserved it. A woman abandoned by her husband. Easy to judge, hard to help. I stood up and looked through the small window. The moonlight made the snow outside shine like silver dust. Beautiful and cruel. The last time we saw town, Amelia asked for candy. I had no money even for bread. I sold my wedding ring for a week's worth of food. That was 2 weeks ago. "Tomorrow," I said quietly. "Tomorrow I'll find something." I didn't know what that something was. Morning came gray and slow. I woke before the sun, bones stiff from cold. Amelia still slept, her face pressed against my arm. I moved carefully not to wake her. My stomach hurt again. Hunger had its own heartbeat. I put on my old coat and stepped outside. The snow crunched under my boots. The road stretched empty, like time itself had stopped walking. I saw smoke from a house far away, maybe someone's fire. "Maybe hope," I whispered. "Just one job, Lord. One meal." I walked to the old barn behind our cabin. There was nothing left. No corn, no hay, no animals. The roof sagged, the smell of rot thick. I sat on a broken crate and held my head. That's when I heard it. Amelia crying inside the cabin. I ran back. She sat on the bed holding her stomach. "Mommy, I'm hungry. It hurts." My throat closed. I knelt beside her. "I know, baby. I'll find food. I promise." "When?" "Soon. I'll go to town." She looked scared. "But it's far." "I'll walk," I said. "I always walk." Her small hand grabbed mine. "Don't leave me." I hugged her tight. "I'll be quick. I promise. Promises." I used to believe in them. 2 hours later, we were on the road. I didn't want to leave her alone, so I carried her in my arms. The snow fell again, soft and cruel. Each step felt heavier. We passed the old church. Its bell tower leaned to one side. I stopped there to rest. I pushed the door open and walked inside. Dust and silence. I sat in a pew and prayed, words shaking from my lips. God, help me feed my child. Please, I don't ask for much. Amelia whispered, "Did he hear you?" "I think so," I said. I didn't sound sure. I looked at the cross on the wall. Once I believed prayers change things. Now I wasn't sure if God even looked this way anymore. We reached town near evening. The streets looked empty, cold. A few men stood near the saloon laughing. I pulled my scarf tighter. Their eyes followed me. I went to the bakery, hoping they'd let me sweep floors for food. But the man there looked at me like I was dirt. "No work," he said. "No charity either." "Please," I said. "My child hasn't eaten." He shrugged. "Then go back to your husband." I walked out fast before I cried. Amelia's voice was weak. "Mommy, can we go home?" "Soon, baby," I said. Soon. Home. That word hurt. I passed by the tailor shop next. The window was bright, warm. I saw something that froze me. Luke, he stood there inside talking to Clara, my best friend. My betrayer. They both looked well-fed, well-dressed. He handed her a necklace. She laughed and touched his arm. I pressed my hand against my mouth, stopping a sound from escaping. Amelia tugged my sleeve. "Mommy, is that Daddy?" I turned away, heart breaking open. "Yes," I said. My voice cracked. "That's Daddy. Why doesn't he come?" I wanted to tell her the truth, that he'd left us for comfort, for lies, for her Aunt Clara. But I couldn't. "He's busy," I said weakly. She frowned. "But we're hungry." I couldn't breathe. I picked her up and walked away fast, my boots splashing through the mud. The cold bit through my coat, but it wasn't as cold as what I felt inside. By the time we reached the edge of town, the sun was gone. The moon rose again, pale and lonely. I laid Amelia down on the wagon's old blanket. She whispered, "Mommy, are we going to be okay?" I brushed her cheek. "Yes, baby, we'll be okay. You promise?" I nodded, even though my chest felt hollow. "I promise." She closed her eyes and drifted off. I sat there in the dark, watching the stars. My stomach hurt again, but it didn't matter anymore. I was past hunger. I looked at the road ahead, long and quiet. I thought of my mother's voice. She used to say, "When the world closes its doors, you make your own." Maybe I still could. Maybe tomorrow would be different. But that night the wind sounded like laughter, Luke's laughter. And I promised myself, through dry lips and shaking hands, that one day he would hear mine instead. The morning sun felt wrong. Too bright, too clean for my kind of pain. I walked through the market road, holding Amelia. Her steps were small, weak. She kept asking, "Mama, is Daddy coming today?" I said softly, "Maybe soon." My voice cracked on the word soon. We passed the bakery. The smell of bread made her eyes widen. I counted the few coins I had left, 3 copper ones. I shook my head. "Not today, baby." She nodded without a sound. Her stomach growled. I wished I could tear my heart out and feed her with it. "Evelyn?" A voice froze me in place. I turned. There he was, Luke. He stood across the street in a clean gray coat, holding a paper bag of fresh bread. His arm was around someone, Clara, my best friend. My old best friend. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My throat locked. I whispered, "No. No, it can't be." But it was him, his smile, his walk, his betrayal. Clara saw me first. Her face went pale. "Eve," she said, almost dropping the bag. Luke followed her gaze. His eyes met mine. I waited for him to speak, to explain, to do something. He didn't. He just looked at me like I was a stranger on the street. Then he said, "Let's go, Clara." I took one step forward. "Luke," my voice shook. "Luke, it's me." He turned his face away. "Luke," I shouted, louder now. People stopped to watch. He sighed, annoyed. "What do you want, Evelyn?" My lips trembled. "You left us. Amelia is hungry. She needs medicine. You promised you'd come back." He laughed quietly. "Promises don't feed mouths." Clara touched his arm. "Luke, don't—" He waved her hand off. "You made your choice when you left the house. You walked out." "I walked out," I said, shaking. "You locked the door." "You took the money." "You left me and your child to starve." His jaw tightened. "I owe you nothing." My knees weakened. The world around me blurred. I whispered, "She's your daughter, Luke. She cries every night for you." He smirked. "Children cry. They stop when they grow." I slapped him. The sound cracked through the street. Everyone stared. No one helped, Clara gasped.
Eve, don't!
I looked at her, tears burning my eyes. You were my sister. You sat at my table. You watched me break. She bit her lip. I didn't mean, yes, you did, I said. You both did. Luke rubbed his cheek and smiled bitterly. Still dramatic. Always loved that about you. You loved nothing about me, I said. You only loved yourself. He leaned close, his breath heavy with smoke. Go home, Evelyn. Before I call someone to move you, I stared into his eyes. You can't kill what's already dead. Then I turned and walked away. Amelia pulled my hand. Mama, who was that man? I swallowed hard. No one, baby. Just a ghost. She didn't understand. She looked back at the bakery. He had bread, she whispered. I nodded, tears blurring my sight. Yes, he did. We reached the edge of town. The road was dusty, the sun cruel. Are you okay, Mama? She asked. I smiled faintly. Yes. I wasn't. We sat by the well. I cupped water in my hands and gave her to drink. She smiled weakly. Thank you, Mama. Her little voice cracked my heart open again. A woman from the store came near. You should be ashamed, she said. Causing a scene in town. I looked up. Ashamed for what? For shouting at your husband, she said. Men have their reasons. I didn't reply. There was no point explaining hunger to someone who'd never starved. When she left, Amelia said, Mama, why did the lady talk bad? Because people talk, I said. It's easier than helping. She laid her head on my lap. I'm sleepy. Sleep, my love. Her small hands held my skirt. She fell asleep under the sun. I watched her breathing, soft, slow. My eyes burned, but I didn't cry. Not yet. I looked toward the hills. The wind was dry, full of dust. It carried whispers from the town. Laughter, carts, voices, life that wasn't ours. I thought of Luke's smile when we first met. His promise, I'll protect you forever. Forever lasted 3 years. I remembered Clara's hug the night I told her I was pregnant. She said, You'll never be alone. Now she stood beside my husband, holding his bread. The world didn't break in one moment. It broke in small pieces. Each lie, each silence, each step away. When Amelia woke, the sun was low. Mama, can we go home? She asked. I looked around. We don't have a home anymore. She frowned. Then where do we go? I didn't know. But I smiled anyway. Somewhere better, she nodded. I like better. Her hope hurt me. We walked back toward the river road. The ground was rough. My feet bled through my shoes. Are you okay? She asked. Yes, I said. Just tired. When we reached the old bridge, I stopped. The wood creaked under us. Amelia said, Mama, are you sad? I looked at her. No, I'm just thinking. About Daddy? Yes. Do you still love him? Her question cut deep. I stared at the water below. I don't know what love means anymore, I said. She looked at the sky. I love you. That was the only truth left in my world. We crossed the bridge. I saw smoke in the distance, someone's chimney, not ours. I said softly, maybe tomorrow will be better. Amelia smiled. You always say that. I'll keep saying it until it's true. As night fell, we reached the fields. It was empty, cold, but had a roof. I lit a candle stub. The light flickered on the walls. Amelia sat on the floor. Can I sleep now? Yes, I said. Sleep. She closed her eyes, whispering, Good night, Mama. Good night, my heart. When she slept, I let the tears come. Quiet, shaking tears. I whispered to the dark, You took everything, Luke, but I'm still breathing. I'm still here. The candle flame trembled. The wind moaned through the cracks. I touched the old wooden floor and made a promise. Tomorrow, I'll find a way. I'll find work. I'll feed her. I looked at my reflection in the window, hollow eyes, dirty face. A stranger stared back, but behind her eyes something moved, something new, cold, alive, not fear, not sadness, something sharper. I whispered to that reflection, You will not break again. Then I lay beside Amelia, wrapped my arm around her and closed my eyes. Her breath was warm on my skin. The hunger stayed, but the pain changed. Outside, the night wind carried the smell of smoke and dust. Inside, I held on to the only thing left, my promise. Tomorrow, I would stop begging. Tomorrow, I would stop crying. Tomorrow, I would begin again. But tonight, I let the silence hold me. I whispered one last time, "I'll never let her cry again." The darkness didn't answer. It didn't need to, because I had already heard the sound of betrayal, and it was enough to wake something that would never sleep again. The rain started before sunrise. Cold drops hit my face as I held Amelia close. Her body felt lighter each day. Too light. She hadn't eaten since yesterday morning. "Mom," she whispered. "My shoes are wet." "I know, baby," I said. "We'll find a dry place soon." I lied. I didn't know where to go. The road stretched like an endless gray river. My old shoes made a soft slap in the mud. My dress stuck to my skin. Each step hurt. "Are we going home?" she asked. I wanted to cry. "There's no home," I said. She looked at me with big, scared eyes. "But Daddy said, don't say his name." My voice broke. She went quiet. The wind blew harder. The rain got colder. My arms shook as I carried her again. Her hair stuck to my neck. Her breath was warm against my chest. I kept walking. I remembered our wedding day. White dress. Sunlight on his face. He said he'd protect me forever. Forever lasted 12 years. "Mom, are you angry?" I stopped walking. The road ahead blurred through my tears. "No," I said. "I'm just tired." She pressed her cheek to my shoulder. "Then rest." "I can't," I whispered. "If I stop, I won't start again." Lightning flashed. The sky turned white, then black again. Thunder rolled like a broken promise. "Are we going to die?" she asked. Her voice was small. "No," I said. "Not today." I said it like a prayer. We reached a narrow bridge. Below, water roared. I looked down, dizzy. For a moment, I thought of jumping. The thought scared me. I held Amelia tighter. "I'm sorry," I said. She didn't answer. She had fallen asleep. Hours passed. My legs burned. My stomach ached. The world smelled like wet earth and smoke from faraway fires. Night came slowly, heavy and black. A wagon appeared behind us. I heard it before I saw it. Wood wheels creaking through mud. I turned. A horse snorted in the rain. The driver wore a dark coat and hat. He slowed down. "Need help?" His voice was deep, calm. I hesitated. I stepped back. "I'm fine," I said. He looked at me for a long time. "You're not." Amelia woke and lifted her head. "Mom, please," she whispered. "Ask him." The man climbed down. He was tall, shoulders broad. The rain ran down his face. He pulled out a piece of cloth and wiped it. He looked older than me, maybe 40. His eyes were tired but kind. "Where are you going?" he asked. "Anywhere," I said. "Anywhere's a long way in this weather." "I know." He opened a small bag and pulled out bread. The smell hit me hard. I hadn't smelled bread in days. My stomach turned. Amelia reached for it, shaking. He handed it to her. She bit fast, almost crying. "Slow," I said. She nodded, crumbs on her face. He handed me a canteen of water. I drank and tried not to cough. It tasted like life. He watched me quietly. Then he said, "You have a name?" "Evelyn. I'm Jacob." He looked at Amelia. "And her?" "Amelia." He nodded once. "Pretty name." Silence fell. Only rain and horse sounds filled the air. Jacob looked at the sky. "Storm's getting worse," he said. "You can't stay out here." "I can't go back," I said. "Didn't ask you to. Then why stop?" He looked at me. My wife would have wanted me to. I didn't know what to say. "Where is she?" I asked. He looked away. "Gone," he said softly. The word hung in the air like smoke. I wanted to leave. But Amelia held my hand tight. "Mom," she whispered, "please." "I'm cold," I nodded slowly. Jacob saw it. He motioned to the wagon. "Get in." I hesitated. "What if you're lying?" He smiled faintly. "Then you'll know soon enough." Something in his voice made me trust him. Not words, tone. Like he'd known pain too. "Line number 2. I lifted Amelia into the wagon. Jacob helped me up. His hands were rough, warm. "Line number 2. I sat beside my daughter. I need to stay positive." She curled up and fell asleep at once. Jacob climbed in and clicked his tongue. The horse started moving. The wheels creaked again, slower now. I stared into the dark road. "Where are we going?" I asked. "My ranch," he said. "Few miles ahead. You live alone?" "Yeah. Why?" He didn't answer right away. "Because everyone I loved left." I turned away. "I know that feeling." We rode in silence for a while. The rain softened. The moon tried to break through the clouds. Jacob took off his coat and handed it to me. "Here. I can't take it. You can." He looked straight ahead. "Cold kills faster than pride." I pulled it over Amelia instead. Jacob noticed but said nothing. The road turned into open land. I could smell grass, wet and alive. He pointed to a faint light far ahead. "That's home," he said. The word home hit me deep. I hadn't heard it spoken kindly in months. "Why help strangers?" I asked. He shrugged. "Because once someone helped me." "Did it fix you?" "No," he said. "But it kept me breathing long enough to learn how." His words stayed in my mind. The rain stopped completely. Only the wheels made sound now. Amelia stirred. "Mom," she murmured. "Yes, baby. Are we safe?" I looked at Jacob. He met my eyes and nodded once. "Yes," I said. "We are." We passed a field with broken fences. The land looked sad but alive. Jacob said, "Needs work, but it feeds me." I whispered, "Then it's better than most." He smiled faintly. "You talk like someone who's lost a lot." "I have." "Then maybe you're ready to build again." The wagon bumped over stones. Amelia woke, half smiling. "Mom, it's not raining," she said. "No," I said softly. "It's not." She leaned against me, eyes closing again. I brushed her hair back. My hands trembled less now. Jacob slowed the horse. Ahead stood a wooden gate, half broken, but strong enough to open. He climbed down and pushed it aside. "Welcome to nowhere," he said with a dry laugh. I smiled for the first time in weeks. Nowhere sounds fine. We entered a wide yard. I saw a small house, a barn, and a flicker of light through a window. Smoke curled from a chimney. Warmth waited there. Jacob stopped the wagon. He turned to me. "Inside," he said. "Food first, talk later." I nodded. He lifted Amelia gently and carried her inside. She looked tiny in his arms. I followed, slow and shaking. When I crossed that door, something in me broke and healed at once. The smell of soup, dry wood, and safety filled the air. For the first time in months, I felt something like peace. I whispered, "Thank you." Jacob just said, "Rest. You can thank me tomorrow." I sat by the fire. The flames danced, warm and kind. Amelia slept in a blanket. My eyes grew heavy. Outside, the rain had stopped. The night was quiet. I whispered one last word before sleep took me. "Home." The wagon stopped at a small gate. Jacob said, "This is my ranch." I looked around. The land was wide and quiet. A wooden fence leaned sideways. A windmill turned with a slow, tired sound. Dust rose under the wheels. The air smelled of rain and hay. Amelia whispered, "Mom, are we staying here?" I said softly, "Maybe for a while." Her face looked pale, but her eyes were bright. She still trusted strangers. I had forgotten how that felt. Jacob climbed down and held his hand out. "Come," he said. I took Amelia's hand and followed. My legs hurt, but I kept walking. He led us to a small house near the barn. It had a red door and 2 windows with cracked glass. Inside, the air was cool. He pointed to a table. "There's bread and soup," he said. I stared at it for a second. I wanted to eat fast, but my pride held me back. "Thank you," I whispered. He nodded. "Eat," he said simply. Then he went outside. I sat down and broke the bread. It was soft, warm, real. Amelia took a small bite and smiled. Her eyes closed as she chewed. I felt tears sting my eyes. I turned away so she wouldn't see. She said, "Mom, it's good." "Yes, it is," I said. But my voice shook. For 5 days we had eaten almost nothing. I hated how desperate I looked, how my hands trembled as I lifted the spoon. When the food was gone, I washed the bowl. Jacob came back inside. He looked at the table, then at me. "You don't have to clean," he said. "I want to," I replied. He shrugged. "Suit yourself." Then he asked, "How old is she?" 7, I said. "She looks small," he said quietly. "She's been hungry," I answered. He didn't ask more. I was glad. I didn't want to talk about Luke or the shame that followed me. He said, "You can stay here tonight. The spare room is clean." "Thank you," I said again. He nodded. "I'll fix the fence in the morning." I helped Amelia wash her face in a small basin. The water was cold, but she giggled. She said, "He's nice." "Yes," I said. "He is," she added. "I think he's sad." I looked toward the barn. Maybe she was right. That night, I tucked her into a narrow bed. The blanket smelled of smoke and soap. She fell asleep fast. I sat by the window and stared at the dark field. The moonlight touched the grass like silver water. I heard a sound outside, the cry of an old horse, then something else. A low voice, Jacob's voice. He was near the barn, talking softly to someone. At first I thought maybe he had guests. Then I heard the tremble in his words. He wasn't talking to anyone living. He said, "Martha." "I'm still trying." The wind moved through the grass. His voice broke. "I didn't forget you," he whispered. I felt my heart ache. I didn't mean to listen, but I couldn't move. When he finally went quiet, I lay down beside Amelia. Her small hand touched my arm. I closed my eyes and tried not to cry. Morning came with sunlight on the wall. The smell of coffee filled the air. Amelia sat up and said, "Mom, can we stay here?" I brushed her hair back. "Let's see if we can help first." Jacob was outside, fixing the fence. I walked over. He looked up. "You sleep well?" "Yes," I said. He pointed to a bucket. "Can you hold this?" I held it while he hammered nails. Each strike echoed across the empty land. He worked fast, silent. I said, "It's a big place." He nodded. "Too big for one man?" I asked. "You live alone?" He paused. "Used to be two." I stayed quiet. He added, "My wife died 2 years ago." "I'm sorry," I said. He kept hammering. "Me too." We didn't speak for a while. Then he said, "You running from something?" I met his eyes. "From someone." He nodded slowly. "I won't ask," he said. "Thank you," I whispered. He looked at Amelia near the fence. "She reminds me of my niece," he said. "She used to feed the chickens." Amelia laughed as a chicken ran by. For a moment Jacob smiled too. It was a small smile, but it changed his face. We worked till noon. Then he said, "Lunch." Inside he made eggs and beans. I offered to help, but he waved his hand. "Sit, you both need rest." We ate together. Amelia talked about the windmill. Jacob listened, nodding. He asked her, "You ever ride a horse?" She shook her head. He said, "Tomorrow I'll teach you." Her eyes lit up. "Really?" He smiled. "If your mother says yes." I nodded. "She'll love that." When Amelia went to nap, I washed the plates. Jacob stood by the door drinking coffee. He said quietly, "You're strong." I looked at him. "No, just tired," he said. "Tired people are strong people." I didn't know what to say. His words felt heavy but kind. I wanted to ask about Martha, but I didn't. Some wounds don't want light. Later, I found an old photo on the wall. A young woman with bright eyes held flowers. Jacob stood beside her. They looked happy. I traced the frame with my fingers. I whispered. She was beautiful. His voice came from behind me. "She was." I turned. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean—" He shook his head. "It's fine." She liked people noticing her smile. Then his voice softened. "She used to sing to the horses." I said, "Amelia sings too. Maybe it'll make the ranch happy again." He gave a small laugh. "Maybe." The sun went down. Amelia and I sat on the porch. She hummed a song about home. I looked at the field. The air was calm, golden. For the first time in weeks I felt safe. Jacob came out with 2 cups of tea. He handed me one. "Thank you," I said. He said, "No need. It's just tea." But we both knew it was more than that. He asked, "Where will you go next?" I looked at the horizon. "I don't know," I said. He nodded. "Then stay until you do." His tone was steady, but his eyes said something else. Loneliness, maybe. I said softly, "You don't even know me." He replied, "I know enough. You need rest. The child needs food. That's enough for now." We sat in silence. The windmill creaked. A dog barked somewhere far away. He said, "This land can be cruel, but it listens. It remembers kindness." I whispered, "So do I." He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, "Good night, Evelyn." "Good night, Jacob." When he walked away, I felt a strange warmth in my chest. Not love, not yet, but something alive again. Inside the small room, I lay beside Amelia. She whispered, "Mom, I like it here." "I do too," I said. She smiled in her sleep. I stared at the ceiling and listened to the wind. It sounded like a soft voice saying, "Stay," and for the first time since Luke left, I wanted to. The wind moved across the dry grass. The sky turned gold. I stood by the barn, holding a bucket. My hands smelled of hay and soap. Jacob walked toward me, wiping his brow. "Long day," he said. "It feels longer," I answered. He smiled a little. "You're learning fast." "I have to," I said. "If I don't, I'll think too much." He looked at me quietly. Thinking is not always bad. Not when the past bites, I said. He nodded. The past bites harder when we run from it. I dropped the bucket. I'm not running. I'm trying to stay alive. He didn't speak for a while. The air smelled of dust and feed. Amelia laughed near the fence, chasing a chicken. I had heard her laugh like that in months. Jacob watched her. She's strong, he said. Shut that from hunger, I said softly. Hunger teaches faster than books. He looked at me, unsure if he should answer. He said, "Don't be weird. You didn't leave." He nodded and could handle. "I used to work faster when Martha was here." "Martha, my wife," he said. She's gone now." I waited. His hands shook slightly. "She loved," he said. "Loved the open sky, the horses, the quiet. I thought we'd grow old here," I asked. He pressed his lips. "The fire 2 winters ago, the barn caught first. She tried to save the horses. She didn't," he nodded. "She didn't make it." "I'm sorry," I said again, but the words felt small. He looked away. "People said it, but I left her alone. I left her that night." Silence spread between us. The sound of Amelia's laughter faded. "Know that feeling?" I said. Turned to me. "Losing someone?" "No," I said. "Blaming yourself for something you couldn't." His eyes met mine. "What did you blame yourself for?" "For trust," I said. He nodded slowly. I felt the words crawl out. "Lose everything to me once, Art, proud. I thought he'd never hurt us. Jake, he took everything. Money, home. He left me with nothing but our child's hunger. Men, they rot in." I shook my head. Maybe he'd come back. For months I waited. Then I saw him with her. "Her? My friend," I said. "Claire used to hold my child when I worked. She smiled at me. That was wrong." He clenched his jaw. I'd have a bitter sound. I wanted to. I couldn't. Daughter needed me a lot. Jacob, like respect, stronger than you think. "I don't feel strong," I said. "I feel empty." He pointed at the barn. "Work fills the empty parts. That's why I never stop." "You ever stop long enough to sleep?" I asked. He smiled faintly. "Martha would laugh if she saw me now. She said I could never fix pain with fences." "She was right," I said. He gave a small nod. "She usually was." We stood together watching the sunset. The sky bled orange into gray. Amelia ran up with a feather in her hand. "Look, Mama," she said. "A bird's gift." I smiled. "That's beautiful, baby." Jacob smiled too. "You can keep it. Maybe it brings luck." Amelia giggled and ran off again. He turned to me. "She reminds me of Martha when she was young. Same fire." I looked down. "She's all I have left." "She's enough," he said softly. I nodded. "She has to be." The evening wind grew colder. I wrapped my arms around myself. "Do you ever hear her voice?" I asked. He frowned. "Martha's?" "Yes." "Sometimes," he said, "when the wind hits the barn door. It creaks like her laugh." I swallowed. "I hear Luke sometimes. In my dreams, he says my name like it still belongs to him." "Dreams lie," Jacob said. "Not all of them," I whispered. "Some tell what we fear." He looked at me. "What do you fear?" "Becoming like him," I said. "Cold, empty, cruel." He shook his head. "You could never." "You don't know me," I said. He stared at me quietly. "Maybe not, but I know pain when I see it. You work, same as me." "Work keeps me sane," I said. He smiled sadly. "No, work keeps us busy." Not sane. I didn't answer. The barn lights flickered. The world felt smaller, softer. Can I ask something? He said. Sure. Do you still love him? The question hit hard. I took a deep breath. I don't know. I hate him. But hate still holds love's shadow. He nodded slowly. I understand that. Do you still love Martha? I asked. He smiled, eyes wet. Every day. Then you understand too much, I said. He chuckled softly. Maybe. The stars came out. The windmill turned. Thank you, I said. For what? For letting me stay. For feeding us. For not asking too many questions. He shrugged. I didn't help for thanks. Then why? Because once I needed help too, and someone gave it. I looked at him. Martha? He nodded. She took me in when I had nothing. Just a drunk fool who'd lost his job, said. Don't waste your second chance. I never forgot. I felt something shift in my chest. Maybe that's what this is for me. A second chance. He met my eyes. If you want it to be. I do, I said. But I don't know how. You start by forgiving yourself, he said. I'm not ready. He smiled gently. No one ever is. I watched Amelia chasing the last bit of light. She deserves better, I said. She's got you, he replied. The words sat heavy in the air. I wanted to believe him. Do you think pain ever ends? I asked. No, he said quietly, but it changes shape. What shape is yours now? Her memory, he said. It hurts less when I talk about her. I nodded. Then maybe I should talk more too. He smiled faintly. That's what I've been trying to do all evening. We both laughed a little. It felt strange, soft, real. The night grew darker. Amelia yawned near the doorway. Time for bed, I said. Jacob nodded. She's safe here. You both are. I believed him. For the first time in years, I believed someone. As I tucked Amelia in, she whispered, Mama, Mr. Jacob is nice. Yes, I said. He is. Is he sad? She asked. Yes, I said. People often are. She smiled and closed her eyes. I stepped outside again. Jacob stood near the fence, staring at the stars. She asleep? He asked. Yes, I said. Good. He leaned on the rail. She brings life to this place. She does, I said. You do too. He looked surprised. Me? Yes, I said. You saved us. He shook his head. No, Evelyn, you saved yourself. I just opened the door. The night went quiet. Only the wind spoke. Thank you anyway, I whispered. He smiled, eyes soft in the moonlight. Good night. Good night, Jacob. As I walked back to the small room, I felt something new inside me. Not peace, not yet, but something close. Maybe the dead still speak, I thought. Maybe they echo through the living, through hands that help, through hearts that still dare to care. For the first time since the hunger, I closed my eyes and slept without fear. The letter came in the morning. Jacob brought it to the porch while I was hanging clothes. His boots made slow sounds on the wood floor. He didn't smile. He just held the brown envelope in his hand. It has your name, he said. His voice was low, careful. I looked at the paper. The handwriting was neat but cold. I knew it before I opened it. Luke. I took it and felt my stomach twist. The paper smelled like dust and old anger. Jacob waited beside me. Do you want me to read it? He asked. I shook my head. No, I'll do it. He walked back toward the fence, giving me space. I tore the top and pulled the paper out. The first words burned my eyes. Evelyn, sign the papers for the land. It's mine by right. Stop pretending it's yours. You owe me for everything I gave you. Do the decent thing. Luke, my hands trembled. The land he wanted was the small farm my mother left me, the last piece of home I still owned. I folded the paper again and sat down on the step. The air felt heavy, like the sky wanted to fall. Jacob returned after a while. He didn't speak. He just stood there with his hat in his hand. Finally he said, what did he want? Money, land, my peace. I laughed, but it came out broken. He wants me to sign it all away. Jacob's jaw tightened. You won't go, he said. You don't need to face him again. I have to. Why? Because if I don't, he wins. I looked up at the hills. The ranch stretched far, quiet and safe, but my heart couldn't rest. Jacob, I said softly, I need closure. He sat beside me, elbows on his knees. The silence between us was long. I heard the wind move through the barn and the chickens scratching in the dirt. Finally, he spoke again. Closure doesn't feed the soul if it breaks the body. His words stayed in the air. I wished I could listen, but I saw my mother's face in my mind, the way she smiled the last day I saw her. She had said, "Don't let anyone take what I gave you. I'll just go once," I whispered. "I'll give him my answer face to face." Jacob frowned. "What if he hurts you?" "He already did," I said. "This time I'll hurt him back. With truth." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Then I'll come with you." "No." He looked at me surprised. "I can't hide behind your courage," I said. "I need to stand on my own," he sighed. "You're the most stubborn woman I've met." "Maybe," I said, smiling a little. "It's what keeps me alive." We sat there in the fading light. Amelia ran outside, her hair flying in the wind. "Mommy!" she shouted. "Look! A bird's nest!" Her laugh filled the yard. I felt my heart twist again. She was the reason I couldn't give up. The reason I had to face the man who ruined us. Jacob watched her too. "She reminds me of Martha when she was small," he said quietly. "She had that same kind of joy even when the world was cold." I turned to him. "Do you miss her?" "Every day." His eyes softened. "But she taught me something. Pain doesn't disappear. It changes shape." I thought about that. My pain had changed shape too. Once it was hunger. Then it became shame. Now it was something sharper. Courage. That night I packed my old bag. A clean dress, my mother's locket, and the letter. Amelia sat on the bed watching me. "Where are you going, Mommy?" "I have to see Daddy," I said. Her face fell. "Why?" "Because he asked for something that isn't his." "Will you come back?" she asked. I knelt beside her and held her hands. "Yes, I promise." She nodded but didn't smile. For her age. When she fell asleep, I went outside. The moon was full and white. Jacob was fixing the gate with a lantern beside him. I walked closer. He looked up. "You packed?" "Yes." He nodded slowly. "You'll leave at sunrise?" "Yes." He put down his tools and wiped his hands. "I can drive you part of the way." "No, I'll walk." "Why make it hard?" "Because it is hard," I said. "It should be. I want to feel every step." He stared at me for a long moment. Then he said softly, "You remind me what strength looks like." I smiled a little. "You call it strength. I call it survival." He reached into his pocket and handed me something small, a folded piece of paper. "What's this?" "Directions," he said. "To the town. You'll need them if the road splits." I took it. Our fingers touched. For a moment, everything else disappeared. He looked away first. "Be careful, Evelyn." "I will." I hesitated, then said, "If I don't come back..." He cut me off. "You'll come back." His voice was firm, almost angry. "Don't talk like that." I nodded, but my chest ached. "I'll come back," I repeated softly. He looked at me then, really looked. His eyes were dark but kind. "If he hurts you again," he said, "I'll find him myself." I wanted to say something about how his care scared me and saved me at the same time, but the words stayed inside. Instead, I whispered, "Thank you." He stepped closer. "Promise me something." "What?" "Don't lose yourself in his fire." I smiled faintly. "I already walked through fire, Jacob. What's left can't burn." He stared, then nodded. The silence stretched again, thick and heavy. The night air was cool, smelling of hay and smoke. I wanted to remember it, the peace, the safety, the sound of crickets. Tomorrow it might be gone. When I went back inside, Amelia stirred in her sleep. I sat beside her and brushed her hair from her face. "Sleep, my love," I whispered. She smiled in her dream. I kissed her forehead. My chest felt both full and empty. The candle burned low. The letter lay on the table. I stared at it one last time. His words were poison, but they gave me a strange kind of power. I would not let him take what was mine. Before dawn, I dressed and tied my hair. The world was still dark. Jacob was already outside with the horses. He didn't speak. He just stood there waiting. I walked toward him slowly. He handed me a small bag of food. "Bread, water, apples," he said. "You'll need strength." "Thank you," I whispered. He didn't reply. He just nodded and stepped back. His eyes followed me as I walked toward the road. The sky began to turn gray. The world felt new and old at the same time. Each step was a beat of my heart. I looked back once. Jacob stood there, one hand on the fence, still watching. The ranch behind him looked like a dream I was leaving behind. I wanted to call out, to say something that could hold all my feelings, fear, courage, gratitude, but no words came. So I lifted my hand instead. He lifted his too. The wind rose between us. It carried the sound of the barn doors creaking and the soft cry of a morning bird. I turned away and kept walking. The road ahead was long and empty. But for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid. The letter pressed against my chest inside my coat. It felt heavy, but my heart felt heavier still. Somewhere beyond the hills, Luke was waiting. I could almost hear his voice, smooth and cruel. I whispered to myself, "You took my home once. You won't take it again." And with that, I walked faster, into the pale light of the rising sun. The town looked smaller than I remembered. Dust covered the road. People stared when they saw me walking. I carried my mother's old letter in my hand. My heart beat like a drum. "Look who came back," a woman whispered. Her voice cut like glass. I didn't answer. I kept walking toward the property that was once home. The old barn stood at the edge of town. Its roof sagged, its paint peeled, but it was still my mother's place. Her promise lived inside those walls. Then I saw him, Luke. He stood by the fence, clean shirt, gold watch. Beside him was Clara, her hair curled, her smile sweet and cruel. They looked happy, like the world owed them light. My stomach turned. Amelia's face flashed in my mind, her small hands, her hunger. I took a step closer. Luke noticed me first. He smiled, but it wasn't kindness. "Well," he said, blowing smoke, "if it isn't the ghost of bad luck." "I came for what's mine," I said. My voice shook, but my feet didn't. He laughed. "Yours? You left it. You ran away." "I left because you took everything," I said. "My money, my peace, my name." Clara crossed her arms. "You should thank him," she said. "He let you live. Others would have buried you." I stared at her face. The same woman who once held my baby when I was tired. "You took my husband," I said. She smiled. "You gave him up, Luke Pagar." Smoke circled his head. He said, "Sign the paper, Evelyn. Give up the land. Be done." I held the letter from the lawyer. "This was my mother's," I said. "She built it. She died for it," he shrugged. "Then let her rest." Something snapped inside me. I stepped closer. "You left your child hungry for 5 days," I said. "She asked for bread while you bought perfume." His eyes narrowed. "Don't bring her into this." "She is this," I said. "She's every tear I shed." Clara rolled her eyes. "You always cry." That's why he left. My hand shook, but I didn't cry. I said, "One day you'll choke on your laughter." Luke smiled wider. He flicked ash from his cigar. "Still dramatic," he said. "Still thinking the world owes you." "The world owes me nothing," I said. "But you do." He stepped closer, close enough that I smelled his cologne. Rich, fake, heavy. "You think you scare me?" he whispered. "I already burned you once." Then he did it. He flicked the cigar toward the barn. The dry straw caught fire instantly. "Luke!" I screamed. Flames jumped fast as breath. Orange tongues climbed the walls. Smoke filled the sky. I ran forward. "Stay back!" someone yelled. Sheriff Dalton appeared, running from the street. He grabbed my arms. But I fought him. "That's my home," I screamed. "My mother's blood is in that soil!" The sheriff held tighter. "It's gone, Evelyn," he shouted. "It's gone!" The heat bit my face. I smelled wood and memory burning. Tears rolled down, hot and useless. The fire roared like a beast. The air turned red. Luke stood by his car, watching. Clara hid behind him, laughing nervously. "You wanted closure." "There it is." I fell to my knees. My hands dug into the dirt. The sheriff tried to pull me away, but I screamed louder. "This is my home," he whispered. "It was, ma'am." "I'm sorry." I pressed my palms into the ground. Ashes touched my fingers. They felt like bones. My mother's voice echoed in my head. "Never bow to cruelty." I looked up. Luke's smile glowed against the fire. I saw the devil wearing my husband's face. Something inside me turned cold. He said, "Sign now and I'll forget your debts." I stood. My dress smelled of smoke. My throat burned. Life, I said. I'll burn your peace. He laughed. You don't scare me, Evelyn. I stepped forward until the light hit my face. I don't need to scare you, I said. I need to outlive you. The sheriff looked at me Ma'am, let's get you to safety, he said. No, I need to see it if caved in. A loud crash shook the ground. The night. Children cried somewhere behind me. Death and dust. He whispered something to Clara. She nodded, then looked back at me. Her eyes were frightened now. Maybe she saw what he couldn't, the woman he created. I called out, Luke! He turned. Do you remember when you said I was weak? He said nothing. I took a step closer. You were right, I said. I was weak. Until tonight. The sheriff grabbed my shoulder. Enough, Evelyn, he said. Don't make it worse. It's already worse, I said. Now it's mine to fix, he sighed. You can't fight fire with fire. I looked at him. Then I'll use truth, I said. Luke scoffed. Truth? You don't have any. I smiled for the first time that night. Nothing to fear? I said. He stared uneasy. Stay out of my life, he warned. I whispered. You burned it down, Luke. Now part of yours. The sheriff led me away. The flames painted the sky orange and black. Behind us, the barn fell completely. It sounded like the world breaking. At the edge of town, I turned back. Ash floated like snow. The fire glowed like a dying sun. People stood in silence. No one helped, I said softly. You'll see what hunger does, the sheriff asked. What did you say? Nothing, I said. I wiped my face. The tears felt clean. Cold wind touched my smoke, clung to my hair. He said, I need revenge, I whispered. He looked away. I didn't hear that. We reached his horse. He said, I'll take you back to town. No, I said. I'm done with this town. He nodded. Where will you go? I thought of the ranch, of Jacob, of Amelia's laughter in the sun. Home, I said, but not yet. He studied me for a moment. Promise me you'll stay safe. I smiled faintly. I don't make promises anymore. He sighed and rode off. Stood alone on the road. Ash fell around me like gray rain. The smell of smoke followed every breath. I whispered to the night, Mother, it's gone. But I'm not. A small flame still burned into the road, one stubborn piece of wood refusing to die. I watched it flicker, stubborn and bright. I bent down and whispered, I know how you feel. Then I turned and walked away. Each step felt heavier but clearer. Behind me the fire screamed. Ahead the road waited, dark and back again. Not once, because that night something ended. And something else, something fierce was born. I didn't pray. I didn't wish for peace. I just walked. And the fire followed me, burning in my heart, fear into steel. Sunset. Cold drops hit them. I sat by the swing at the old letter from the... It said Luke. Jacob stood near the stove, spoke first. You're thinking... I nodded. I can't stop. As my mother, he walked close. Don't need to face him alone, I said. He took everything, our money, my peace. On the fire. It's fast. You might get lost in it. I'm all... He didn't reply for a while. Only the sound of rain and the smell of smoke filled the room. Do you want some tea? He asked. I smiled weakly. Yes, hot, please. He poured tea into 2 chips. I watched his hands. They were strong, but when he gave me the cup, our fingers touched. Something inside me trembled. Later, asleep, Jacob sat at the table again. I talked with Mr. Granted, he said. Luke's old business partner? Yes, he told me something. You should hear it. I leaned forward. What? He lowered his voice. Grant said Luke forged papers, moved money from the company into his own name. He used your signature. I froze. My signature? Jacob nodded. He copied it. The man has proof, I whispered. Yes, Jacob said. And Grant is ready to help. Stared at the flames. All those years, nothing without him. But now his him. The wind pushed against the window. Amelia murmured in her sleep. The storm inside me. I want to see Grant, I said. I'll take you tomorrow. But you must promise something. What promise? He looked straight at me. Promise you won't let him. I took a deep breath. I can't promise that. He smiled sad, then promise you'll come back. I will. Morning came. The wagon wheels sank into the road. Jacob sat beside me quiet. I wanted to speak, but silence felt safer. Finally, he said, "You dream too much when you don't sleep." I turned to him. "How do you know?" "I heard you last night," he said. You said his name. Heat rushed to my face. "I didn't mean to." "I know," he said softly. "Dreams show the pain we hide." I looked away. "I just want peace." He nodded. "Then take the truth and end this." We reached Mr. Grant's office before noon. It smelled like dust and old paper. Grant looked nervous when he saw me. "You're Evelyn Hart," he said. "Yes." "You worked with Luke." He sighed. "I did. I regret it." Jacob folded his arms. "Show her the proof." Grant opened a drawer and took out a folder. Inside were papers, numbers, and letters. He pointed to a signature. "This is yours," he said. "But you didn't sign it." I stared at it. My own name, copied perfectly. "He stole my name," I whispered. Grant nodded. "And your trust." My hands shook. "Why tell me now?" "Because Luke wants to sell everything. He wants money fast. I can't let him win again." I felt tears rise. "You're helping me out of guilt?" Grant looked down. "Maybe, but the truth still matters." Jacob touched my shoulder. "Take the papers. They'll save you." I gathered the documents. "Thank you," Grant said. "Be careful. Luke still has friends in town." On the way back, the clouds grew dark again. Jacob drove in silence. I watched the road and thought about the folder in my lap. Each paper was a weapon and a wound. "He will go to prison," I said quietly. Jacob nodded. "If you show those papers to the sheriff." "I will." "Then what?" I frowned. "What do you mean?" "When justice comes, what will you do next?" I didn't know. I only felt the empty space inside me. We stopped near the bridge. The river was high from the rain. Jacob turned to me. "You don't have to do this tonight." "I can't wait," I said. "You're shaking," he said. "I'm fine." He reached out and held my hand. His touch was warm, steady. "Evelyn," he said softly, "sometimes revenge keeps the wound open." I met his eyes. "And love?" He looked away. "Love heals slow." We stayed like that for a moment. The wind moved through the trees. I wanted to rest my head on his shoulder, but I didn't. When we reached the ranch, Amelia ran out. "Mom, you're back," she said. I lifted her up. "Yes, my little one." She looked at the folder. "What's that?" "Something that will help us," I said. Jacob smiled at her. "Go for the chicken, sweet girl." She laughed and ran off. Then Jacob turned to me. "I'll go fix the gate." "Wait," I said. "Thank you for today." He nodded. "I only drove the wagon." "No," I said. "You drove me out of fear." He looked down, shy. "Maybe." That night I couldn't sleep. Window with a candle. The storm stronger. I took one letter from the folder and read it again. "Burned," I whispered. "This is enough proof." Then I took another paper and folded it neatly. A note for the sheriff. Rise. Amelia filled the room. I touched her hair. "Soon it will end," I said. The door. Jacob stepped in. "Still awake," he said. I replied closer. "You shouldn't face him tomorrow alone," I said. "Right." He looked at me for a while. Then he said, "My wife." I turned to him. "Was she strong?" He smiled faintly. "She never." I felt something tighten in my chest. "And she died?" He nodded. "In a storm like this." The silence grew heavy. I whispered, "I'm sorry." He shook his head. "Don't be. Just live." Lightning flashed outside. For a second, the room was white. Then darkness returned. "I don't know if I can live without revenge," I said. He stepped closer. "Then live through it, not for it." Our eyes met. The air felt cold and warm at the same time. He touched my cheek. "You deserve peace, Evelyn." I wanted to speak, but no words came. Only silence and the sound of rain. He dropped his hand and turned away. "Good night," he said. "Good night," I whispered. When the door closed, I sat there alone. The storm outside echoed the storm within. There's Lockett and "Tell me, is this the right path?" The wind didn't answer. Only the candle trembled. I closed my eyes. Tomorrow I would end it. Luke would pay, and maybe, just maybe, I would start to live again. The morning air was cold. I had in my hand. They were proof times. My heart beat fast, but I told myself, stay calm, Evelyn. This was the day I would face him. I walked into the sheriff's office. The floor creaked under me. Sheriff Dalton looked up from his desk. He said, Evelyn Hart, haven't seen you in months. I said, I came for justice. He leaned back in his chair. Justice? I nodded and placed the folder on his desk. These are Luke's documents. Stolen money. Fake deals. Lies. He frowned. You sure you want to do this? I said, I have to. He sighed. Luke's a powerful man. He owns half the town. I looked straight into his eyes. Then he'll fall with half the town watching. He opened the folder. His eyes moved from page to page. His jaw tightened. Where did you get these? I and Mr. Grant, his partner. He couldn't sleep anymore. Dalton nodded slowly. Grant's honest. If this is true, Luke's done for. I said, it's true. He rubbed his chin. You know what this means? Reporters, lawyers, trouble. I said, I already had trouble. Hunger, shame, betrayal. This one's easy. He gave a small smile. You've changed, Evelyn. I said, pain changes people. He stood up and walked to the window. I'll need a statement. I'll give it. He said, and witnesses. Grant will talk. So will Mrs. Lyle, maybe even Clara. He turned. Clara? I looked down. She was part of it. She knew. He wrote something on a pad. I'll call them in. I said, do it soon. Before he runs. He nodded. You're brave, Evelyn. I shook my head. I'm tired. That's different. Outside, the wind blew dust across the road. I walked back toward Jacob's wagon. He waited for me, arms crossed. He said, how did it go? I said, he'll act. Jacob frowned. You trust him? I looked at the sky. Truth. He touched my shoulder. If he hurts you again? I said, gee, time. That night I couldn't sleep. Turned low. I watched the flame dance. My face, his laugh, his lies. I whispered, tomorrow justice knocks. Amelia slept beside me, her small hand warm in mine. I closed my eyes and prayed, not for revenge, but for peace, as Jacob woke me. There's noise in town, he said. I dressed quickly. Noise, he said, something's happening. We rode into town. The streets were crowded. People whispered, pointed, gasped. A man shouted, they're arresting Luke Hart. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. It was real. Dalton stood near his car. Luke was there, handcuffed, shouting. There comes a moment in every life when everything falls apart. I'm innocent. When the plan you built, Dalton said, collapses. Save it for the judge. When the people you trusted, Luke disappear. His eyes widened. You, he said, voice shaking. You did this. I said, no, you did. He pulled against the cuffs. You think me? I said, no, it makes me free. Pushed in. Cameras flashed. Clara ran toward him, crying. Say something. He said, Clara, get me out of this, screamed at Dalton. You can't take him. Dalton said. I watched her face change from love to fear. She looked at me. Regret this, she hissed. There comes a moment in every life when everything falls apart. Years ago, the crowd murmured. Someone whispered, when the plan you built, someone collapses. Said, that's his wife, the one he left. There comes a moment in every life when everything falls apart. When the plan you built tried to collapses me. When the people you trusted disappear. I said, no, Luke, for when the strength you... He went silent. I said, you stole from me. There comes a moment in every life when everything falls apart. And still I lived, he sneered. When the plan you built... You think this ends me? Collapses. I said, no, you'll end yourself. Dalton pushed him toward the car. There comes a moment in every life when everything falls apart. I loved you once. When the plan... I said, then you should have stayed. The door shut. The sound echoed. I felt my knees weaken. Jacob caught me before I fell. He whispered, it's done. I said, then why do I feel empty? The crowd began to fade. Clara, I walked up to her. He said he... I said, one. She looked lost. What will happen? I said, he'll face what he bit her lip. Do you still love him? I loved who I thought. She nodded. I sighed. Jacob stopped the— You did what was— Why does it hurt? Because you're human. The sky turned gray. Rain began to fall. I whispered. Rain rode in every life when everything falls apart. He looked at me. What? I smiled sadly. Words that kept— He nodded. Keep them. When we reached the ranch, Amelia ran out. Mommy, you came back. I hugged her tight. I'll always come back. She said, Is Daddy coming too? I froze. Jacob turned away. I said softly, No, my love. Daddy went away. She frowned. Will he visit? I shook my head. He's time. There comes a moment in every life when everything falls apart. I wiped my face. No, just rain. That night, Jacob sat by the fire. I joined him. He said, You did brave work. I said, There comes a moment in every life when everything falls apart. Justice often does. We sat in silence. The fire cracked. Amelia slept in the next room. I whispered, I thought I'd feel peace. Peace doesn't come fast. I said, What does? He said, There comes a moment in every life when everything falls apart. I don't know if I can. Then don't force it. His words settled in me like quiet rain. I thought of Luke, the man who broke me, the man now locked away. I thought of Clara, crying in the dust. I thought of myself, a woman who once— There comes a moment in every life when everything falls apart. And courage. Still, I felt something missing. When the plan you built, Jacob, collapses. You'll sleep tonight, he said. I said, Maybe. He handed me the cup. Our fingers touched. Warmths me. He said, You're safe here. I whispered. For how long? He smiled. When the people you trusted disappear. Outside, the wind howled against the windows. I whispered to it, Disappear. He's gone. When the wind replied with silence. I closed my eyes. When the strength you thought you had filled the room, runs out. I held the cup tighter. I said, Justice came, Jacob said, and I said, And I'm still learning how to live. He nodded. That's the hardest part. Look around. We didn't speak after that. The fire burned low. In the glow, I saw my reflection on the window. Tired eyes, but alive. I whispered to myself, I did it. The words felt heavy and light all at once. I finished my tea and stood. Jacob said, Look around. I said, And nothing makes sense anymore. In bed, you tell yourself, I should be stronger. She turned to sleep and murmured, Home. I smiled. Yes, home. Outside, thunder rolled far away. The storm was leaving. I listened until only quiet remained. There comes a moment in every life when everything falls apart. Not a perfect one, but mine. And for the first time in years, I felt free. The first letter came on a cold morning. Jacob handed it to me while I was washing the dishes. He said, It's from him. I didn't need to ask who. Luke's handwriting, same shape. My hands shook. Put it on the table. The paper dirt he left on my life. I know, I said. But the truth was, I wanted to see the man who broke me try to speak again. I opened it slowly. Only the first line stayed in my eyes. When the plan you built, I did collapses. What I had to. My stomach turned. The next words blurred. I felt that same old hunger, not for food, but for peace. I tore the letter in half. Then again. The pieces fell into the sink. The water carried them away. Jacob didn't say anything. He just put his hand on my shoulder. When the people you trusted, warm, steady, disappear. Alive. For a moment, the silence between us spoke louder than words. Amelia ran in from outside. Her cheeks were red from the cold wind. Mom, look what I found, she shouted. She held a small bird's feather. It fell from the sky, I smiled. It's beautiful. Her laughter filled the room like light. Jacob smiled too. The world felt less heavy for a second. Later that day, I walked out to the field. The wind was soft, but the earth was still damp from last night's storm. When the strength you thought you had, the sky was wide, runs out. You look around, fixing the fence near the barn. He waved at me. I waved back. He asked, You okay? I said, I think so. He nodded, then looked at the fence again. You know, fences are strange things. They keep things out, they keep things in. I looked at him and said, Maybe I needed both. Look around, and nothing makes sense anymore. We all do. You tell yourself. I stood there for a while, watching him work. His every movement was calm. I remembered how wild my life once was, how I fought every day just to breathe. Look around. Now, even the quiet scared me sometimes. After Amelia went to bed, I sat near the window. The moon touched the table where the letter had been. Jacob came in carrying 2 cups of tea. He gave one to me. The steam felt good on my cold fingers. "Can I ask something?" He said, "Of course. Do you miss him?" I looked outside at the moon. "Miss? No, but some miss the woman I was before him." Jacob nodded. He said, "That woman's not gone, just resting." I laughed softly. "Maybe. And nothing makes sense anymore," he said. You tell yourself to be strong all the time. I don't know how to be weak anymore." He smiled sadly. "It's courage. You tell yourself, I should be stronger. For a while." The only sound was the wind outside and the small clock on the shelf. Then I said, "But the truth is, you wrote again last week. You're not weak." "I didn't open it," Jacob asked. "Do you want me to throw it away?" I shook my head. "You're human." "No, not yet." "Why?" "But the truth is, maybe I want to remember what not to love." Jacob leaned back. "That's fair." He took a sip of tea and looked at the fire. "But the truth is," his face glowed orange in the light, "you're human. Sometimes what you're feeling right now, to both of us, the pain, the part, the emptiness, the loss of control, is the exact moment when real strength begins to form." I stood up fast, but Jacob said, "Because emotional resilience, just dreaming." I smiled. "She dreams more now." "That's good. Dreams mean hope," he said. "Yeah, hope," I whispered. The next morning, I found another letter in the mailbox. This one was thinner, desperate. I didn't open it, because emotional resilience isn't built when life is easy. It's born when life breaks you into the sky. So if you're tired until they were gone. Jacob came up beside me. "You sure?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "So if you're tired of pretending to be fine, if you're ready to stop faking strength and start becoming it," I looked at it. "This message is for you." But sometimes they don't listen. What emotional resilience really is, we often imagine, then we keep living louder. I liked that. I liked how he said "we." That afternoon, I walked with Amelia to the edge of the field. She pointed, "That one looks like a horse." We often imagine resilience as toughness. You always see ability to never cry, never bend, because never break. Free. But that's not strength. I looked at her small hand. That's suppression. Maybe she was real right. When we came back, Jacob was sitting on the porch, tired but peaceful. He said, "Fence is done." I said, "Real resilience is the ability to bend without breaking, coming in, to fall, and still choose to stand again." That night, as I psychologists define it as the process of adapting well in the face of adversity. She looked at me with, I said, "No, but I like to think of it this way. We have resilience is the art of then we're rich." I kissed her forehead. "Yes, we are." When she slept, I stood by the window again. The moonlight covered the floor like silver water. The ranch looked quiet, strong, resilience alive. Is the art of recovery. For the first time, the silence didn't the inner empty. Ability to turn Jacob pain into perspective beside me, to use the fire that burned you as light to guide you. Lighter. "Every strong person," I said. "What changed?" "Maybe nothing. Maybe me." He smiled. "That's enough. Every strong person you admire isn't someone who never fell apart. Sometimes silence there's someone who did speech and rebuilt themselves anyway. All the hunger, all why the fear. We crumble. It felt far away. So why do we collapse when life hits hard? My name. I whispered. It's not because we're fragile. Really win? Jacob looked at me. "Winning isn't the point," he said. "Surviving is." I nodded. Then I did. He reached for my hand. I let him. His hand was It's rough, not because real. We're fragile. I felt the pulse. It's because our brain is wired for safety. The wind not growth through the grass. When tragedy, rejection, it sounded like a song, soft, endless. I closed my eyes. It's not because we're fragile, whispered, but it's no because our brain is wired for safety. His voice was small now, not growth, like an echo fading when over tragedy, a hill. I said quietly. Jacob didn't answer. He just squeezed my hand once. When tragedy, rejection, or uncertainty hits, your amygdala, but didn't fall. The fear center, I thought lights up like a fire alarm. To never let your mind floods with cortisol and adrenaline. Before going to bed, you stop thinking clearly and start surviving. No letters, no lies. In that state, the sound of breathing it's easy to believe the lie. I whispered, "This pain will never end. This is home. This means I failed." And for the first time in years, the word felt true. But emotions are like waves that morning. I walked alone down the old dirt road, holding a small letter in my hand. The paper was soft, almost thin from how many times I touched it. It felt like a part of me. I said softly, "But emotions are like waves. You told me to keep going, Mama." I did. They rise. The graveyard was quiet. Just birds, wind, and the sound of my boots on dry grass. I stopped in front of her stone. "But emotions are like waves. Cracked at the edges. They rise. Her name fading. They crash. I placed my finger. If you don't fight them, they pass." "Hi, Mama." "It's me again." "The people who stay strong aren't the ones who feel less. It sounded
They're the
weak,
ones who
but
feel
it was
fully.
real.
Then let it move
right,
through them.
know? Life didn't
You
kill
can't
me.
out.
It tried, but I'm still here. The letter in my hand shook. A long time before I spoke again. I wrote you something.
You can't outrun pain.
It's not long.
You can only outgrow it. The
Just
three
the truth.
lies that break resilience.
I knelt and laid the letter on the ground.
Number 1.
The wicket, but I pressed a stone on top. I thought I would die after Lou whispered.
Lie. Number
But
1.
I didn't.
I shouldn't
I
feel
wanted
this
to.
way. The
But
moment you
Amelia
judge your
needed me.
emotions, you trap them.
The words
Sad.
came slow, heavy. You told me once, you're ready, not when they ask. I never understood that before. The wind
Sadness
brushed my
isn't
face.
weakness.
I
Anger
closed
isn't
my
failure.
eyes.
They're
I could
messages,
almost hear her laugh again,
signals that
warm
something
and
inside
soft.
you needs attention,
Luke wrote
not
to me,
punishment.
He
Lie
said he's
number
sorry. Said prison changed him. Said he wants to see his daughter. I smiled a little.
Lie number
But
2.
he still called me
I need
dear,
to stay
like
positive.
he never broke me.
Toxic positivity
the
is
letter.
just emotional
Maybe
avoidance
that's cruel,
dressed up as strength.
But I didn't do it out
You
of
don't
hate.
need to smile through
I
suffering.
did it so I could
You
breathe.
need to sit with it long
A
enough
bird
to
flew across
understand
the
it.
field.
True
I
positivity.
watched it go until it was gone. Mama, I said, I don't hate him anymore. I thought I needed revenge, but I just needed peace.
True
I touched the stone
positivity is
again.
not denial.
I
It's
forgive him.
acceptance.
Lie
Not
number
for him.
3. For me. For Amelia. For you. A tear fell on my hand. I didn't wipe it. It felt warm against
Lie
the cold
number
air.
3. If
I
I'm
kept your
strong,
promise.
I won't fall again.
I said.
Strength isn't
I didn't
about
die
avoiding
when
pain.
life wanted me to.
It's about recovering faster.
I found home again.
Falling again doesn't
I
mean you
looked up at the
failed.
gray sky.
It means you're still alive.
You'd like Jacob.
Still
I
trying,
said quietly.
still becoming.
He doesn't talk
So
much,
stop
but he
trying to be
listens.
unbreakable.
He works hard.
Become
He
recoverable.
lost someone too. But he doesn't let pain make him cruel. I smiled to myself. He's kind to Amelia. She
Become
calls him Uncle
recoverable.
Jake.
The psychology
Sometimes
of
she says she
recovery.
wishes he was her father. The
Neuroscience
words
tells
broke
us something
soft
remarkable.
inside me.
Every
I
time you
whispered, maybe one day he will be. A long silence filled the air. I heard the sound of leaves moving
Every time you
behind me.
recover from emotional
A familiar
pain,
voice
your brain
spoke.
rewires itself for
You
future
talk to the wind
resilience.
a lot.
The
Jacob
prefrontal
said.
cortex,
I turned.
the rational part of
He
your
stood near
mind,
the gate,
learns
hat
how to
in
calm
hand,
the emotional
quiet as
centers
always.
faster.
I smiled.
You literally become
The wind
stronger
listens
and
better
feeling.
than most people.
That's
He
why
gave a small
survivors
smile
often
back.
develop more empathy,
Maybe so.
patience, and depth.
He looked down at the grave.
Because they've trained their
You
mind to
finished what
face
you needed to
pain
say.
instead of hide from it.
I think so. I
Emotional
said.
resilience isn't
now,
about fighting
he nodded.
emotions.
Good. Amelia's waiting. She made something for you. I raised an eyebrow. She cooked again? She tried, he said with a small laugh.
It's about
I helped.
integrating them.
You'll survive
You
it.
don't heal.
I laughed too. Real this time. I always do. We stood there for a while, not talking. Just the wind, the field, that small stone between us. Then he said, "You okay?" "I don't know," I said.
You don't heal by
But I
removing
feel lighter.
pain. You
He
heal
looked
by
at
giving
the
it
letter
purpose.
under the stone.
Ask
"Wanna
yourself,
leave it here?"
what
"Yes,"
did this moment
I said.
teach me?
It's where it
What
belongs.
strength did this suffering force
He
me to
nodded.
grow?
Then let's
What
go
can I
home.
use from this to help someone
I
else
hesitated.
someday?
The word
Pain
home
without
still
purpose.
felt strange in my mouth. I said softly, "Jacob, can I ask you something? Do you think forgiveness makes us weak?" He looked at me for a long. Then he said, "No. It means you finally stopped fighting ghosts." I breathed out slowly. Then maybe I'm finally done.
Pain
touched my
without purpose destroys.
Light and
Pain with
careful.
meaning transforms.
You did what you could.
The three-stage
That's
framework.
enough.
Pause, process,
nodded.
progress.
I just wish it didn't
When
take
life hits you,
so long.
stop trying to fix everything
Smile
instantly.
gently.
Resilience begins
Healing
with a pause.
takes the time it needs. We walked down the hill together.
Stage 1.
The road was rough, but it felt easier now. The sun came through the clouds, soft and pale. Jacob said, "I used to visit every week." I looked at him. "You stopped?" "Not really," he said. "Just started talking to her in the fields instead. Is it better?" I smiled. "Maybe that's why it feels like she's still there."
Stage
He
1.
looked at me,
Pause.
eyes kind.
Take a breath. Don't
Maybe
run.
that's why your
Don't
mother
explain.
still is too.
Just pause long enough
I
for your
didn't
nervous system
answer.
to catch up with your soul.
I just looked up.
You're not behind.
The sky
You're
looked wide,
recalibrating.
almost forgiving.
Stage 2.
We reached the gate. The ranch was in the distance, the small house shining under the light. I stopped and looked at it.
That place, I said.
No, Jacob said. You saved yourself. The house just
Stage 2.
His words
Process.
stayed in my head.
Allow
I
yourself to
looked at the
feel.
horizon.
Cry
Here
if
I
you
had
must.
nothing. Not food.
Journal.
Not hope.
Sit in silence.
Just fear.
Processing
He said
doesn't
softly,
make you weak.
"No."
It prevents the
I do.
emotion from turning
I
into
said,
trauma.
"Trust it."
He
Stage
smiled.
3.
Good. Smile in silence. The grass brushed against our legs. Smell the smoke from the kitchen chimney.
Stage
Amelia
3.
ran out.
Progress.
Her face was
Once
red.
the emotion passes,
Mom,
move, she said.
even if it's just a
Look
small
what I
step.
made. Do
She
the
held a
next
small
right
loaf
thing.
of bread burned
Take
on
the
the
shower.
edges.
Go for the
I
walk.
laughed.
Send the
It's
email.
beautiful.
Small
Jacob
actions
chuckled.
rebuild identity.
Told you she'd say
and
that.
each one tells your brain.
Amelia grinned.
We are still alive.
You have to taste it.
We are still moving
I broke
forward.
a piece and ate it.
Repeat this
It
cycle
was
as many
hard and
times
sweet.
as needed. That's
Perfect,
not failure,
I
said. Amelia smiled so wide I thought her face might break. You like it? I love it, I said. I really do. Jacob leaned against the doorframe, watching
That's
us.
not failure.
I looked at him. That's how resilience is trained.
He raised an eyebrow.
One recovery at a time.
For what?
The shift.
For
Turning
staying,
pain
I
into
said.
power.
He nodded
Every
once.
painful experience
Someone
holds a
had to.
hidden lesson.
The room felt warm.
Resilient people
full of
don't
soft
escape
light. I looked around. The old table, the cracked window, the sound of laughter. It didn't feel empty anymore.
Resilient people don't escape
Amelia
the storm.
hugged
my waist.
They extract wisdom
Are you
from
happy
it.
now, Mommy?
Ask yourself,
I smiled down at her.
what if this isn't
Yes,
happening
baby.
to me,
I'm happy.
but for me?
She giggled. Then
That's
promise
not
you won't
delusion.
cry again. I bent and kissed her forehead. I promise. She ran off laughing.
It's perspective.
Jacob looked at me.
When everything
You ready
falls
for dinner?
apart, you're forced to see
Always,
what truly
I said.
matters.
He smiled. The noise faded.
Then welcome home. The words stopped me. Welcome home. Simple, but it filled my chest.
The noise fades.
I looked around
The
the,
fake
small
disappears.
house, the field,
And what's
the
left
sky
is
turning
raw,
gold.
real. And
For the
you.
first time,
That's where
home
strength
didn't
is
mean
born.
a place.
Not from
It
perfection,
meant peace,
but from honesty.
I whispered.
Not from pretending.
But
Forgiveness
from
is not
presence.
forgetting.
Jacob
Remember
asked
this softly. The version of... What did you say?
I smiled. Nothing. Just thinking. We went inside. The door closed behind us. The wind moved outside.
The version
gentle,
of you that emerges
carrying
from
old
pain
voices
is
away.
not a weaker copy.
And for the
It's
first
a
time,
refined
my heart stayed
evolution.
quiet.
The
The
morning sun
resilient
touched
identity.
my face when I opened the door.
Resilience becomes
The air
easier
smelled
when
of
it's
hay
part of
and
your
new grass.
identity.
Amelia
Stop
was already
saying-
outside, running after the dog. Her laugh filled the field like music. I leaned on the doorway and watched her.
Stop saying,
She had
I'm
grown
trying to be
taller,
strong.
stronger. Her hair shone like gold under the light. Jacob was fixing the fence again,
Stop
humming
saying,
softly.
I'm trying to be
The same
strong.
old song.
Start
Morning,
saying,
he said,
I am
without
someone who
looking up.
grows through struggle.
Morning, I replied.
When you see
His voice
yourself
still
that
made my
way,
heart quiet.
setbacks
He
stop
wiped
feeling
his
like
hands and
failures.
smiled at me.
They feel like
You
training.
didn't sleep much again?
Every challenge
I shook
becomes
my head.
data.
Dreams kept me awake. Bad dreams? Not bad, I said. Just old ones. He nodded slowly. Old ghosts take time to leave.
Every challenge
smiled a
becomes
little.
data, not
They're
drama.
weaker now.
You stop
Jacob
asking,
came
why
closer
me,
and took my hand.
and start asking,
Good, he said.
what's this teaching me?
You deserve quiet
That single
mornings.
shift down from victim to
For a
student
while, we just stood
transforms your entire
there. The
life.
wind moved the grass like waves. It reminded me how far I had come. Amelia ran
The
up to
cycle
us
of
breathless. Mom, look what I found! She held out a feather, white and soft. Pretty, I said.
Where did you get it? It fell from the sky, she said proudly. Jacob chuckled.
Then it's a gift. Amelia smiled wide. Can I keep it? Of course, I said.
Maybe it's lucky. She twirled away, holding it high. Her laughter faded into the field again.
Jacob
What's this
watched her.
teaching me?
She's
That
happy
single
here.
shift down
She
from
is, I
victim
said.
to student
She finally laughs
transforms your
without fear.
entire life.
He nodded.
The cycle
And
of
you?
growth.
I looked at the hills
Here's
in
the
the
truth.
distance.
Resilience
I think
isn't
I'm
built
learning.
once.
Later, we sat
It's
on
built
the porch
every
for
day.
breakfast. In quiet,
The table was
invisible
simple.
moments. Bread, eggs, coffee. Every time Jacob poured milk into Amelia's cup. She frowned. I want more sugar, he laughed. You'll lose your teeth. She crossed her arms. You already lost yours. Jacob burst out laughing. I almost spit my coffee. Every time you choose
said,
calm over chaos.
She's your sharp tongue.
Patience over panic. Got your stubbornness,
Faith
I
over
said.
fear.
Amelia smiled between us.
Those
are the reps that strengthen
I'm
your inner core,
perfect,
she said proudly.
like a muscle.
Jacob ruffled her hair. That you are. For a moment, everything felt easy. The kind of peace that used to feel
Like a
impossible.
muscle.
Your emotional
After
strength
breakfast, I walked to
grows
the
when
barn.
it's challenged. Inside, it smelled of wood
And
and
someday,
hay. The
a
same
soft light
storm
came
that
through
once
the
broke
cracks.
you wouldn't be
Won't even shake
once. This place
So
was
if
full
life
of
has-
ghosts. Now it felt like home. Jacob came in behind me. Thinking again? He asked. He leaned on the door frame. You miss the city?
No, I said simply.
Took
So if
everything.
life has
He
you on
looked
your
at me
knees right
quietly.
now,
I
if you're
used to think
tired,
the same.
lost, or holding
Until you
yourself
came.
together by a thread,
His words sank into me
pause.
slowly.
I turned
Breathe.
toward him.
I
And
didn't
remind
save you,
yourself,
I said.
this is
You
not the
saved
end
me.
of your story.
He shook his head.
You're not broken.
Outside, Amelia called for us.
Mom, Dad,
Come see. For a second.
Jacob did too.
She'd never called him Dad before. Smiled, shy and unsure.
She means it. He looked at me.
Do you? I nodded.
You're not broken.
Yes, we
You're
walked out
rebuilding.
together.
And what you build
Amelia
next
was
will be
standing near a small
unshakable
tree.
because
A
it
bird's
will be
nest lay in
real.
her hands. Look, she said.
They're tiny. And what you
Inside
build
the nest were 3 blue eggs. I touched one gently.
It's fragile, I said softly. What
Jacob
you build
smiled.
next will be unshakable
Like life used to be.
because it will
Amelia
be real.
tilted her head.
If this message
What?
spoke to you,
Nothing,
share
I
it with
said.
someone who needs
Just
it.
keep it safe. She
Comment,
grinned.
I'm evolving.
I will.
If you're
That
ready to
afternoon,
rebuild.
clouds rolled in
slowly,
from the west.
bravely,
Rain
one
started
day
to
at a
fall,
time.
slow and warm.
Because
Amelia ran under it, laughing again. I stood on the porch and watched. Jacob joined me.
rain always brings memories, he said. Yes, I whispered.
Because healing
But this
isn't
one feels
found in
kind.
pretending
He
to be
nodded.
okay. Maybe
It's found in
washing
learning
away
to
the
rise
old.
again,
I
no
looked at
matter
the
how many
horizon,
times you
gray
fall.
and soft.
The rain made the land glow. It felt like a blessing. When night came, we sat by the fire. The room glowed orange and gold.
Amelia lay on the floor
You
with
fall.
her books. Jacob was carving
Rise
something
again.
from wood.
No matter how
I
many
held a small
times you
box
fall.
on my lap. He looked up. What's that? A letter, I said. The last one from Luke. Jacob's hands paused. You kept it? I did, I said. I never opened it. Do you want to? I stared at the envelope.
No, the words don't matter anymore. He reached out his hand.
Then let it burn, I nodded. He opened the stove door. I placed the letter inside. The paper caught fire and curled into ash. I watched until it was gone. For years I carried that weight. Now it was smoke, Jacob said quietly. I took a deep breath. I feel it, I said.
Finally,
Amelia yawned.
Can we sleep now?
Go on.
nothing makes
Jacob
sense anymore.
Softly.
You
Dream
tell
good
yourself,
dreams.
I should be
She hugged
stronger.
us both before going to her room. Her little feet made soft sounds on the floor. Jacob sat beside me. You look lighter, he said. I am, I whispered. I let go. He leaned closer. What do you want now? Just peace. Maybe some joy, he chuckled. You ask. Maybe not anymore, I said. Between us. Adopt. Later that night alone, you tell yourself the moon hung low and pale. The air was cool. You tell yourself. I heard you tell yourself. Breath of the land. You tell yourself. You tell yourself.
Mom,
I should
kept
be
my
stronger.
promise. Through the grass softly.
Answer. Jacob came behind me,
the
wrapping
truth
his
is-
coat around my shoulders.
It's cold, he said. I like the cold, I said.
You tell yourself.
it keeps
I
me
should
awake.
be stronger.
He smiled.
Still stubborn. Always, I said. He looked up at the sky. Do you ever think about tomorrow? Sometimes, I said. But I don't fear it anymore. He nodded. Good. Tomorrow's kind to those who survived yesterday. I took his hand. For a long time, we stood there in silence. At dawn, the world turned gold again.
Amelia came running across the field.
Mom, come on. Let's go.
Where?
But the truth, I laughed. Everywhere. She shouted.
But
It's a
but
new
the truth
day.
is,
Jacob laughed.
but the truth
beside me.
is,
Listen to her, he said.
the new road's waiting. I looked at them both.
My child, my home, my heart.
But the truth
So
is,
long I'd been walking
but the
through
truth
pain.
is,
You're
now
not
I was
weak.
walking toward
You're
life.
human, I whispered.
And what you're
Let's go
feeling
home.
right now.
Leah held my hand. Big Jacob took the other. We walked down the path together. The road stretched ahead, bright, endless, open. Behind us, the ranch stood quiet and strong. The wind followed, soft and kind. For the first time, I didn't look back. Because emotional resilience isn't built when life is easy. It's born when life breaks you open. So if you're tired of pretending to be fine, if you're ready to stop faking strength and start becoming it, this message is for you. What emotional resilience really is. We often imagine resilience as toughness, the ability to never cry, never bend, never break. There comes a moment in every life when everything falls. Moment in every life when everything falls apart. When the plan you built collapses. When the people you trusted disappear. When the strength you There comes a moment in every life when everything falls apart. When the plan you built collapses. When the people you trusted disappear. When the strength you thought you had runs out. You look around, and nothing makes sense anymore. You tell yourself, I should be stronger. But the truth is, you're not weak. You're human, and what you're feeling right